Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Happy New Year. First episode of 2026. It's Invisible Strength Podcast. This is Chris here, as always, with Karen. Karen, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful. It's great to be back for season 5.
Season 5. Look at us. I mean, my goodness, this is rolling and rolling and rolling. And I think we're starting off this season 5 excellently with this powerful conversation. I just want to introduce, this is a family affair today. I've got my father-in-law, my sister-in-law, Tianna and Paul Butler here to talk about a very powerful story about family, about surviving kidney transplants. And I'm really excited for them to be here. How are you both doing today?
Great. Thank you for having us.
Doing wonderful.
There it is. There it is. So before, health entered the picture in such a big and life-changing way, talk to us a bit about what life looked like for you as a family. Like, what was the normal rhythms of, T is doing her thing in her career as an educator. Paul, you're doing your thing as an educator and had a wonderful broadcasting career predating that as well. What were your rhythms like in terms of just like, your normal interactions as, father and daughter?
T, you can go first.
Okay. So I've, been an educator. And so before the kidney transplant and everything, I was just living my life,
Hmm.
being an educator, loving what I did with kids. I felt like I was in pretty good shape and things felt pretty normal and pretty stable for the most part. And so as a family, I felt like we were great, we're pretty cohesive and things seemed to be going well.
There it is.
Yeah, from my standpoint, I mean, just to give you a little bit of background about myself, as Chris mentioned, I was a TV news anchor, sportscaster for 24 years before I jumped into education 8 years ago. And I became the director of communications for a local public school system in Maryland. And I've been doing that for the last 8 years. But I say about 4 or 5 years ago, I'm diabetic, by the way, but about 4 or 5 years ago, really started to feel as my health was slowing down a little bit, getting sluggish all the time, not having the energy I used to. And I used to be pretty athletic, a lot playing, basketball and tennis and so many other things. But about 5 years ago, it started to wane down, and I, went to my doctor, and he mentioned that your kidneys are starting to decline, and that's what basically what happened. But my daily routine was, going to work, enjoying life, loving the family. But then when you start to feel not as like usual, then something's wrong.
Absolutely.
A lot of times we can just chalk up not feeling well and sluggish to old age. How did you actually realize that you should go to the doctor and get this checked out?
Yeah, certainly. So I started to feel, because I'm able to get up and get plenty of energy, go ride my bike, things like that. And I started to feel where, you know what, I don't feel like riding today. I'm too tired. And I also was doing something that, a lot of people with diabetes often do is, you're using the bathroom, constantly going to the bathroom because of your diabetes. And it was just a point where it was happening a lot frequently. I wasn't sleeping as well. I also started to notice that my ankle and my legs were starting to swell a little bit. So I knew something wasn't right. And so I went to my nephrologist, and they did some tests, some blood tests, and realized that my kidney function was decreasing from 30% down to 25%, then down to 20%. And when it got to about 18%, he said, hey, you got to start thinking about a kidney transplant. You could chalk some of it up to old age, because I'm right now 63 years old. And at this time, I was about 58 at that time. And I just didn't feel well. And I knew something was going on, which is atypical, because usually with this type of disease, kidney disease, you really don't feel any. There aren't any real symptoms, except for, like I said, urinating frequently, being tired, maybe seeing some high blood pressure or leg swelling, that type of thing. But it was just, saying to myself, look, go to the doctor and find out what's going on.
So when you realize and you're hearing the doctor say to you, "Hey, you might want to start thinking about that," Like, how did that land emotionally? You're someone who has been active your whole life. You're someone who, you made that transition from one great career to education, like a whole nother career. Like, what was going through your mind in terms of like looking forward to the future, but also emotionally? Like, how did you process all of that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I said, "Can I reverse it?
Yeah, right, right.
Is there a way to reverse this?" And he was like, "Well, at this point, probably not." They were giving me some medicines that can help slow the progression of the kidney disease. And, I was on that for a while, but it just kept going down. And emotionally, I was thinking, you know what? If I want to be around for my family, I'm going to have to go ahead and start thinking about getting a kidney transplant.
Yeah.
One of the things they also said was, they were talking about dialysis, which is usually precludes, getting a kidney transplant. And I had one doctor who said, you need to go to this doctor over here and go ahead and get your fistula put in your arm because you're going to need dialysis pretty soon.
Hmm.
And that kind of woke me up. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So I actually went and got a second opinion from another nephrologist, and he says, pump the brakes. You don't need it just yet.
Okay.
So I was glad that I got that second opinion. And he said, listen, continue to on your medicine of Farxiga, which is going to help slow the progression, but you don't need a fistula just yet.
Mhm.
But at the same time, we need to start looking at options as far as kidney transplant. And it was at that point that I started talking about it with my family. And then we decided to go onto social media and make my case known. And from that point on, we started asking for people to try to see if they could be a match.
Mhm. And T, walk us through the emotional aspect on your side. You're hearing this news. You're trying to
Mhm.
brainstorm, with your family about like what next step should be.
Yeah, me, I'm a little feisty, and I'm a little protective. So when I heard that, I was like, "So what do we gotta do? Like, what do we have to do?" You
Yeah.
know? And it's scary because you don't ever want to hear that about a family member, and then it gets pretty real and pretty serious pretty quickly.
Hmm.
And so for me emotionally, I'm like, if I whatever I gotta do,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't mind. And I said, if I have to go get checked to see if I'm a match, if my siblings have to go get checked, I'm gonna do what I have to do. So emotionally, it was really scary, but at the same time, you're kind of put into fight or flight mode,
Hmm.
even though it's not you. You just try to figure out how can you best help. It was really nerve wracking, but thankfully, being able to talk it through and hearing what the doctors had to say made it a lot easier.
I'm not familiar with how hard it is to get a kidney. And you mentioned going to social media, asking friends and family. Can you walk us through that process?
Yeah, certainly. It is. It's very difficult to get a kidney transplant. Right now in America, we have over 100,000 people who are waiting for a kidney transplant, and they're on the kidney transplant list. So that's the first step, is getting on that transplant list. And
Yeah.
what you have to do is you have to usually go through your doctor or through your hospital, and they'll recommend you to get on that transplant list. And once you're on that list, most people have to wait 4 to 5 years before they're able to get a kidney transplant. So it's something that you'll see a lot of people on social media now asking for help and seeing if they can get a match, because there's 100,000 people waiting right now, people that are on dialysis, and they need that transplant right away. I was very lucky that we were able to find a match, and they just happened to be Tianna. But getting on that list is very, very, it's not hard to get on the list. But once you get on that list, there is a long waiting period, somewhere between 3 to 5 years,
Wow.
before most people get a transplant once they're on that transplant list.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine how scary that must have been.
Yeah, it was scary because you don't know if anybody's going to be a match. We did a lot of praying. I know Chris did a lot of praying for us.
Mhm.
Our family members did a lot of praying, and we had a lot of people. I'm very lucky that I was on TV locally, and a lot of people, knew me from being on
Yeah.
TV, and a lot of people volunteered to be tested. And we had a number of people who, were also matches, but Tiana came up to be the best match
Wow.
for me. So, it can be scary because you don't know. And if you don't know, then you're certainly probably going to have to go on dialysis. And dialysis is no joke.
Yeah.
So that was something that I had done a lot of research on. I talked to people who were on dialysis, and I was just blessed that I didn't have to go on dialysis before I got my kidney transplant.
100%. So talk to us a bit, and you know, Tiana, you can start us with this part. Like, when it became clear that you would be the best match, what was that conversation like about the path forward? Because obviously we just heard the odds, 100,000 people on that list, 3 to 5 years, and like, wait, I'm right here. Like, what goes through your mind? What's discussed?
That's a good question. I think the whole process, for me finding out I was a match was 6 months. And in that time, you go through so many different tests to figure out if you're compatible with the recipient. You go through multiple blood tests. You've got to determine whether you've got the right antibiotics that won't attack that person's antibodies. And then you have to think about whether or not your blood type matches.
Yeah.
And you have to think about your weight. So there were all these tests that I had to go through, and it took what felt like a very long time. And at one point, it kind of got stalled because I didn't think I was going to be able to move, further because something popped up. And once I got that cleared, and once I got the call to come to Baltimore and do the final big test,
Hmm.
I was really really nervous. And then a few days later, they called me and said I was a match. And I think in that moment, I felt so happy. I remember I was jumping up and down in the room, like I was smiling. I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I was in my office at work. And, I instantly called my mom and my dad and they said I was approved. I'm good to go. And so from that point on, it wasn't necessarily a big conversation of like, how are we going to proceed? It was more of, are you sure you want to do this? I know my dad asked me that like a million times.
Yeah.
I was like, if you ask me again, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure I want to do this. But I think it was more thinking about my future
Uh,
and thinking about like, am I going to be able to be okay with this and be healthy with this if I go through with it? And so that was more of the conversation. And then we just powered forward.
it's incredible.
And yes, I did ask her a million times because, as parent, you don't want your child to have to donate a organ to you because you don't want to lessen her chances of her life, especially when she's so young. And that's one of the things that we had to learn is the fact that you can live with one kidney. And, once she realized that, there was no question in her mind. But, as a dad, I'm thinking, I don't want to take my daughter's kidney. I mean, I would take it from a stranger probably, but from a family
Yeah,
member,
yeah.
you kind of don't want to. But she finally, persisted, and I said, "Okay, if you are sure,"
Right.
Yes, because
and I
I'm
and I
grown
asked
too.
and I asked her that a million times. I said, "If you are sure, then we'll go ahead and proceed."
That's incredible, and especially seeing the family support that you have, so it's great to see.
Hmm.
Yeah.
When it actually came to the surgery time for both of you, what was going through your minds, and what was that experience like for you?
I I think I was fine until maybe the night before, and then I got really nervous. And not so much because of like the pain or the recovery, just because I didn't want to be super nauseated by the anesthesia. That was my biggest concern because I'm not a like nausea, vomit person. But it was more of like you don't really know what to anticipate and you don't know how your body's going to react after you donate a kidney, right?
Hmm.
And it's a big part of your body. And so it was sort of that nervousness, but also this excitement, like it's finally happening. It's been in the works for so long, and now it's going to happen. And, also a little bit of worry of like, is it going to kick in? Is it really going to work? And so a mix of all of that.
Yeah, for me, it was a lot of anticipation. I was ready because I was feeling so drained all the time.
Yeah,
I said, "Man, I can't wait to get this new kidney so that I can feel better."
for sure.
And so, I mean, just nothing but prayers. And the night before, we went up to Baltimore and stayed at the hotel the night before because we had to get up at 5 a.m. to
Right.
get to the hospital by 6, I think, before the surgery to get prepped. And, just being in that room when they came in and started giving us all kinds of needles and IVs and all of that kind of stuff, I was just thinking, just let us all get through it. Let Tiana be fine. I said, it was just a lot of anticipation going up to it. When we finally said, okay, here we go back into surgery, I was certainly ready because I wanted to feel better. But at the same time, wanted to make sure that she was going to be okay. And I think I even asked her that morning, you still want to go through
Right,
Mhm.
right.
even at that time. But it was quite a thing for the family, all of our family, all the kids came up, Paul Jr. or Paul the third, and also our daughter Brianna. They all came up to make sure I was okay and make sure Tiana was okay.
Mhm.
But that morning was a lot of anticipation, and we got through it pretty easily, I think. And when I came out of it and woke up and started talking, the kids were like, "Man, it must have kicked in right away," because I was just jabbering and had plenty of energy. I think Tiana will tell you that they hadn't seen me talk that much in a long time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh my gosh. I'm thinking about the practical realities, like beyond just like the main risk and excitement and anticipation of the procedure itself. You also have like, the work leave and like trying to figure out who's gonna do caregiving, all the uncertainty around it. How did you all manage those variables? I know the family comes up, but what else do you have to sort of prepare for?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things is that once you become a kidney transplant survivor, once you get that kidney transplant, you are then on a lot of medicines and a lot
Okay.
of anti-rejection medicine.
Right.
And one of the things it does is it lowers your body's ability to fight infection.
Yeah.
So I had to go for maybe, 2 months wearing a mask wherever I went,
Mm.
and I was home for, I think 8 weeks, I believe as well. So you really have to be careful. In fact, we had to quarantine our dogs at home for a while
Wow.
because you're really susceptible to any type of germs. Anybody would come into the house, visit, they had to wear a mask. And I
Yeah.
wore a mask as well. So there are a lot of things logistically like that you have to pay attention to, um, the risk of infection. So I had to be very careful about that. It was great that Valerie was able to stay home for a while, my wife Valerie, to be able to take care of me. Tiana was there. She came home and she was there for a good bit of the time as well. So she was able to get time off. We were lucky that we had a lot of time
Yeah.
saved up at our employers that we were able to take those time off
Yeah.
because, like I said, when I got home, and Tiana can probably expand on this. I didn't do much for the first, couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I was basically laying on the couch or laying on the lazy boy. But every single week, we had to make a trip, 2.5 hour trip to Baltimore
Right.
for a checkup once a week, once and twice a week that we had to do that. Because they want to make sure that the kidney is doing well. They, do all types of blood tests, make sure you're not getting any types of infections. So you basically cannot go back to work for a while because you're going back and forth to the hospital. I think twice a week we went, for the first month. And then after that, it was once a week. So there's a lot of that goes into it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, being careful when you're going into the hospital, when you're going to the doctor's office, to make sure that you're masked, make sure you're washing your hands, those type of things that you don't think about. But you have to be very, very careful. Even today, I'm here at work and I wear my mask now because the flu is really
Right.
rampant, all over the place, and I can't afford to come down with it.
Yeah.
So, because the anti-rejection medicines that I will take for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
but I'm willing to do it because of that. I have to be very careful around large groups of people.
Yeah, and I'll add, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I also lived in Charlotte, North Carolina at the time of the kidney transplant. And the kidney transplant took place in Baltimore. So I had to leave. I had to be out of work for 2 months. And so, like as my dad said, I was able to get enough time off, which was great, and support from my school community. But I live by myself. So I couldn't have the surgery and then come back down to Charlotte and just be by myself. So I
Right.
stayed up there with my dad and my mom and my 2 dogs, which was great. And if you think about it, like, after you donate a kidney, it's really hard to walk the first couple of days. And so taking the dogs out, I couldn't do that by
Oh,
myself. So my
yeah,
mom
yeah.
had to help. which was great. And just being able to recover for 2 months at their house was great. Being able to see how my dad was recovering, and then eventually being able to drive him to those appointments in Baltimore worked out really well. So we were very fortunate that we were able to have that arrangement, but not everybody has that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Throughout this journey, there's been so much uncertainty. Am I even going to find a match? And then getting through the surgery, oh, you have to be so careful about infections. You mentioned prayers. How else did you cope with the uncertainty of it all?
I think, like you said, prayer was a big thing. Having strong faith is a huge thing in our family, and we pray all the time. But one of the things that made it easy for us, or was able to for us to get through it, was the fact that we are a close knit family, and not only that, we have strong support from not only our family but from neighbors, from extended family, from my mom, and from cousins and aunts and uncles. We have a lot of strong support there from the community. The community was often sending prayers. In fact, sometimes they would even send us dinner to the house to help get through it, because a lot of times, Valerie was too tired to cook, or Tianna might have been too tired to cook, for us. But we had a great support from our church family that also would send over meals, once a week, so that we could get through the week, so that we didn't have to cook anything, or, Tianna and Valerie didn't have to cook. So it was great that we had a good support system. And that's one of the things I think you certainly need, to get through something like this, because I had a buddy of mine, he just recently got a transplant last year,
Mhm.
and he was just, I think he's 37, 38 years old. And he was lucky to have support from his mom and his local family, and also his school family that helped him get through it as well, because you need it.
Yeah,
You certainly need that extended family and extended faith and extended prayers and support to get through it. Luckily, our employers were all behind us and allowed us to have the time that we needed, to get through it, because this is not a surgery where you're in 1 week and you're back to work the next week. No, you need a full 8 weeks to recover.
no doubt, no doubt. What surprised you most about physical recovery?
Go ahead, Dad. Go ahead.
Well, for me was getting my stamina back. I had the energy back again because the kidney was working. It kicked in right away.
Right.
So I had the energy back, but it was getting the, stamina back, being able to walk, well, half a mile and not getting tired, or being able to walk up the steps and not getting tired. So that was a big thing for me, was getting that stamina back, and also getting the weakness or the strength back in your leg.
Yeah.
Because when you're down for any amount of time, 2, 3, 4 weeks, and you're not doing regular exercises, your body gets weak. And so you have to regain that strength either through, exercises. We were luckily that we were able to have, a nurse come in and do some rehab, with some exercises. But the main thing was just getting my stamina back, because, like I said, I was just laying up for a good bit of chunk of time, and I needed to get that back. But I had the energy. I just didn't have the stamina, because I know when I first started, I was walking up the steps and I'd be tired after going up,
Real,
a flight of steps.
real.
So that was one of the biggest things, was getting my stamina back and also getting the strength back in my legs. Your mind says, "Oh, go ahead and do it. You can just go ahead and run."
Right.
Your body's like,
Not today.
"No."
I think for me, it was interesting because I was also anticipating that the pain was gonna be so bad, and it was gonna be so horrible, and the recovery was gonna take so long. And honestly, the worst pain was probably the first 24 hours, and then after that, minus some, like, minor pain, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
It wasn't that bad for me. And everybody's, journey is different,
for
obviously.
sure.
But I was surprised at how fast I just kinda bounced back, and how fast I was able to be back to my normal self. And I think that was a good surprise for me in terms of recovery.
Absolutely.
Were there any emotional surprises throughout the recovery process? Or were you just happy to have it done and you're on your way?
I think that's how I was. I was so happy to have it done. I was so happy to know that it was working really well within my dad. That was such a relief for me. And I think it's kind of like when you've got a lot of adrenaline and it's just sort of the come down from that.
Mhm,
And it was more of a, I can breathe now
mhm.
type of experience and feeling.
Yeah, for me, it was the emotional part came, I think about, T, you might want to remind me, maybe about 6 to 8 weeks in,
Hmm.
they discovered that I had what's called the BK virus. And the BK virus attacks the kidney. And a lot of kidney transplant patients get this BK virus. In fact, everybody has the BK virus in them, but it remains dormant because your immune system keeps it down. But with me, because my immune system was down, I, I got the BK virus and I was thinking to myself, is this going to hurt the kidney? Is this going to reject the kidney because of this BK virus? Thankfully, the University of Maryland was running a trial study, and they said, we don't know if this is going to work, but we're doing this trial study where we have this medicine that's being developed in the UK that we're doing a study on to see if it will help kill or help control this BK virus. So I underwent this study and participated in it. And once a month, I would go up to the University of Maryland Hospital and have a 30-minute treatment, IV treatment with this medicine. And my BK numbers were really high, like in the thousands. They were like 4,000, 5,000.
Wow.
But then steadily, surely, using this trial medicine, it came down to the point where now, the BK virus was gone, I think within 6 months of it showing up.
Wow.
So I was incredibly thankful and blessed again that they were having this trial. But that was very emotional because I was thinking, man, I got this kidney transplant, but now this virus is attacking it. I can't allow this to happen because Tianna donated this kidney and now this virus is trying to take it away from me. So there were a lot of prayers and a lot of emotion there for me.
Mhm.
The fact that I just wanted that treatment to work because I wanted to save that kidney.
No doubt. No doubt. T Tiana, what was it like knowing that part of your body was now sustaining someone you love? Like your father is here because you
Hmm.
gave your kidney. What is that like?
It's the greatest feeling. When I was recovering, I thought a lot about how, and from my perspective, I think everything happens for a reason.
Yeah,
And I thought about not that like, my dad was my dad and my mom gave birth to me to give him a kidney,
right.
but thinking about how I was put on this earth for a multitude of reasons, but one of them was also to give back to somebody who helped to make me was really an incredible feeling. It's kind of surreal
Mhm.
to think about, but also really, really cool. So, just a lot of gratitude and thankfulness that I was able to do that. And now that, I have one kidney, to know that my dad has my other one. And we're literally, I mean, for real, family.
Yeah.
Um, I have his blood and he has my kidney. You know, it is, it's really just such a blessed and incredible feeling. I'm really thankful that my kidney was able to be a gift for him and it's working well, knock on wood. So it was great.
Yeah.
And
I can
I now owe her for life.
Paul, I was thinking about that, but I wasn't gonna say anything. But on the flip side, Paul, do you feel pressure or did you feel pressure that you needed to get better faster and that this had to work?
Well, I don't think I felt pressure, but I just wanted it to work because she made the amazing sacrifice to give me one of her kidneys. And the fact that, I now have it right here in my front stomach, I wanted to make sure that, I can do all I can to make sure that, I take care of it because it's a gift of life. And I want to make sure that I, do the best to take care of it and that it lasts me for a long, 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 long time. Now
Yeah.
right now, there are people with kidney transplants who've been around, for 30, 40 years that survive with kidney transplants.
Wow.
That's my plan.
Yeah. Hear that. Hear that. What does resilience look like in the boring, unglamorous days? Obviously, the procedure itself and leading up to it, that's like all the excitement. That's where the suspense is. But like on the everyday, just doing your thing, going back to normal, whatever that means. What does resilience look like then for you all?
Well, I think for me at the beginning was, when I would look at the scar that I have, on my stomach and all those stitches that I saw that first day when I saw it,
Come on.
when they took the band-aids off, I was like, oh my goodness. But, and there was a lot of pain at the beginning, the first, I'd say week or so after that. But, after that, it's been pretty the fact that I can now, even though I have a kidney transplant, I'm able to do all the things I could do before. I can go back to, riding my bike. I can go back to playing tennis. I can go back to finally lifting weights then,
Yeah.
something I couldn't do for the first 6 or 7 months
Right.
after the kidney transplant. 'Cause they don't want you lifting anything
No.
because there's a chance it could pull loose. So I didn't do any of that. But now, on a daily basis, it's been, a couple of years. It's a normal routine before the kidney transplant. Get up, do whatever I want, walk the dogs, jog if I want, ride the bike. I don't have any limitations, all because of the gift of that kidney transplant has given me my energy back.
Yeah.
It's given me like my life back to where it was before.
Yeah.
And I think for me, resilience is after donating a kidney, and also, I had breast cancer in my late 20s. So to be able to donate a kidney to my dad 5 years after that,
Yeah.
resilience has sort of like a new meaning,
Hmm.
right? And even going through the process of trying to donate a kidney and having a minor setback and keep going, I think it just goes to show, and I kind of lean into life with the mentality of you just keep going because you never know what's going to happen, right? You never know how you're going to bless somebody else or how somebody might bless you. And even if it looks tough right now, who knows what the future holds? And so it really does give a new and stronger meaning on resilience that I'm very grateful for.
I so appreciate that. As you both look back at the entire journey, are there any moments that stand out that you're like, wow, I can't believe we made it through that? Maybe the whole
Yeah, I mean,
journey.
for me, it was when I finally beat the BK virus. That was a big moment for me because I said, you know what, now I can relax a little bit
Yeah.
because before, knowing that you had this virus and the fact that that virus can take away that kidney,
Yeah.
once I got to that point, I could relax a little bit, and it really meant a lot. In fact, I think I went back to the hospital for one of my appointments and made a little video because Tianna's name is now forever etched in the University of Maryland Medical Center kidney area where it says, she donated a kidney. And I think I made a video showing her that her name was now forever etched in the University of Maryland hospital system. So that was a big
Very
moment
cool.
for me. And also, when I finally was able to go back to work, I think that was a big moment because I said to myself, you know what? A lot of people would never have made it this far, or
Right.
didn't make it this far. And God's given me another day, another year, and another chance to make a difference.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it's all about, is being able to wake up every day and know that you now have another chance to make a difference.
No doubt.
Maybe not in everybody's life, but maybe in one person's life. And
Hmm.
it always takes me back to that one saying that I have on my emails when I send it out to people. My signature, it says, you can go out and make a difference for one person. Okay. It may not change the world, but it may change the world for that one person. And so that's what I try to do every day.
Yeah. And I think for me, it was the whole thing, Karen, kind of like what you were saying, the
Yeah.
whole process. I think the biggest moment for me was actually hearing the doctor say, you are okay to donate that kidney. And actually hearing the doctor say that, if you become a kidney donor, you are actually, you have really good health. And so
Hmm.
not having to worry about future complications or all these things because they've gone through all of those things was really good. And I also think the other big moment was maybe a year out from the donation and just being like, wow, it's been a year and I feel great. I
Yeah.
have one kidney, but I feel amazing.
Come on.
So those were really big moments for me.
And the other thing too that you haven't mentioned is now that Tiana's a kidney donor, she now jumps to the top of the list if she ever needs a kidney. Because she donated a kidney, she jumps to the top of the kidney donor list, donation list if she ever needs one down the road.
Mhm.
So that was a big thing for me as well, knowing that that was also in her back pocket now
Yeah.
because she made a sacrifice donating to me. She now jumps to the top of the list if she ever needs a kidney.
That's incredible. It really is incredible.
And makes total sense. Of course, you should get first dibs.
I mean, it makes sense, but it's not always a guarantee, you know what I mean? Like,
Right. Right.
it's not always a guarantee. Um, a couple of things that just, like, really just made me just feel just like the power of this conversation is that, there's so many people who are going through challenges and conditions and feel that they have to do it by themselves. And I think it's such a remarkable story that you did not that it's amazing when it's a stranger. I've seen those stories, I read those stories, and those are very powerful. But to have it be a family member who was able to uh, jump in the situation and to have gone through this together. Just really, really an incredible story. I was funny. Like I'm in this conversation, like I'm learning it for the new time, like for the
Right.
first time. Even though I know the story, but
Right.
it's still just such a really powerful story to hear. And I just thank y'all so much for that.
Yeah.
And here's what I want to say. I know we're maybe running out of time, but here's what I want to say to people out there who may be in my position when I was looking for a kidney, or maybe you're on dialysis. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah,
Don't be afraid to ask for help because there are people in the community who you may not know who might say, you know what, this person is down on their luck. I'm going to see if I'm a match for them to become their, kidney match or their kidney
yeah,
donor. So, there are different means to go about it. I use social media because I use Facebook because I'm on it all the time. You can do the same thing. In fact, that's what, my friend did locally. He used Facebook and social media and he ended up getting a match. Please, please don't be afraid to ask for help. I know a lot of times we get to the point, oh, I don't want to ask people for help, or I don't want them to know what my condition is.
right.
Ask for help.
That's very wise.
I want to pause on that topic because you guys have gone through so much and experienced so much. Is there anything else that you want to elevate to other people who are just starting out in this process?
Yeah, I would definitely say for people who are considering kidney donation or even people who have not even thought of it and they're like, "Oh, that's not for me," or "I don't know a person," look into it because it's so worth it.
Mhm.
And like I said, as a donor, they're going to make sure that you're going to be safe, right? So if you think about donating, you're going to have a lot of support. There's a lot of guardrails there for you. Just consider it because it does change a person's life. um you never know if you're a match for somebody.
Yeah.
You never know if you could be a blessing. So just consider it. And if they have any questions, I'm happy to answer their questions. And there's tons of communities and groups out there who have also donated that are happy to support people as well.
Yeah. And one of the other things is I didn't realize it before, I got to this point, how many people have kidney disease in this country
Oh yeah.
and how many people are eventually going to need a kidney. So first of all, we've got to really watch our health, especially with diabetics, because that's one of the reasons that a lot of people have kidney disease. Look, ask for help. Make sure you see your doctor once, twice a year. But also, if you're not feeling well, if it really is out of the ordinary, go get a checkup, get some blood work done to see if your kidney function is really decreasing to the point where you may need extra help. But yeah, I think Karen and Chris, I really appreciate you guys doing this because we need to bring awareness of the fact that kidney disease is prevalent. It's not getting any better. But if we catch it early, we can probably prevent people from having to have a kidney transplant just by improving their diet and things like that. But also, if they get to the point where they need it, that there are resources to go. The Kidney Foundation of America
Mhm.
is an amazing place to get a lot of resources. Your local hospital or your local nephrologist can also help you with that as well. But there's help out there. Just don't be afraid to ask for it, because there are a lot of resources out there before we get to the stage of needing dialysis. And even when you get to dialysis, here's what I want you to know: do not give up. Do
Yes.
not give up. There are so many people who want to give up, and it's like me being in sports. I've seen so many times when people are about to give up, but then if they just give a little bit more effort, they just make that winning play or that winning shot or that winning, whatever it is to get you over the hump. So don't give up in anything you do.
Paul, I think you just answered my last rapid fire question is what's that invisible strength? Just going that extra little bit and don't give up. I love
Mhm.
that perspective.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Then number one is prayer for me, and then number two is never giving up, because you never know when that miracle or when that, whatever it is you need is going to take place. A lot of times people give up just before they reach the goal line. They don't see the goal line, but if they just take one more step or just do a little bit more work,
Right.
they can hit the jackpot, so to speak. So never give up, and you know, keep going.
Well, thank you so much for having us and allowing us to share our story. We so appreciate it.
Yeah.
I sincerely want to thank you both. You have an incredible story and a remarkable family. Thank you for bringing awareness to this issue, because I learned a lot today, and I think it's something that we need to shed more light on for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Okay.
Thank you. And to our community, make sure you check out invigorateyourjourney.com to get support. We've recently launched life coaching with Chris Burton, and we're here for you. So until next time, take care. Peace.
Peace, y'all.